Okay, it's time for my end of October update. I'm definitely cutting it close this month since it's October 30th, about 6:05 p.m. This video will be released for tomorrow, October 30th. These machines here, nothing's really changed. I got to get this Cub Cadet back together and get it ready to go for next year. Got to charge some batteries. That Murray is waiting on a carburetor and a few other minor parts. The Poulan XT, the gas tank decided to spring a leak out of its brand new grommet. It drained out what gas it had in it. Unfortunately, I went to use it the other day and it had no fuel. So I got the gas tank in the shed drying. I put some epoxy on a different grommet. It should be hopefully good to go. The racing mower, I'm going to get on that next year for sure and get it finished. I'm been probably procrastinating on that project. It's just been sitting around for way too long. It's about time it gets finished and ready to go. The Kubota is still sitting around. I don't know really what I'm going to do with this Kubota. If I'm going to fix it, am I going to just sell it? I really don't know. It needs a complete hood. I've had some offers on it, but nothing really guaranteed and down packed. So it's still sitting, and fixed, it's probably worth about $1,600. In this condition, it's probably worth about $600. So we'll see. And the parts that needs are about $800 to $900. So yeah. In here, a few updates in here. The Akuma Jaguar four-wheeler is all back together and ready to push some snow. I got a plow ready for it. I got the winch installed. I did make some videos of working on this, so you have to wait and see for them unless I've already released them. I don't quite remember. The snow blowers, I don't know if I'm pulling any of these ones out at the moment. I'm going to pick up a free snow blower on Wednesday, and supposedly all it needs is some carb adjustments. Supposedly. I've gotten stuff from this guy before, and really from stuff he says to what something really needs is usually two different things. The cheap rear tine rototiller is still doing good. It's a little on the hard side to start, but for what I need it for, it works good. Also, I will be picking up another rototiller as well from the same person as a snowblower. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 pressure washers in here. The first 3 run and operate. At least they would if they had their pumps installed. The pumps are all in the basement. The last one has a seized engine, but a fairly decent frame, so it's probably going to get put together at some point in its lifetime. Back there is the other antique rototiller. I've not done anything to that at all. It's just sitting there, and I don't know if I'll ever do anything with that, or I'll just try and sell it, or yard art. Which it was before I got it, so. Let's zip this down so I don't forget. Moving on over. These decks are pretty much just waiting their turn to get worked on. One of them is a good Murray deck. The other one is a decent Murray deck. And the other one is a parts deck for the Murray deck. So, they're just waiting on their turn. The good Murray deck will probably get put away for the winter. The other two we'll see as well. Scottsdale, Arizona. As you can see, it's missing its engine. I potentially have an engine to go back in this. I needed the engine that was in it for another machine, which I'll show in a bit. My pile of junk engines is still sitting there, waiting for their turn to get torn apart. They're all junk except for potentially that Tecumseh snowblower engine, but I'll probably scrap it as well. The rest of them are blown up. That orange one, I don't know if it's blown, but it's not really worth fixing. Roper, still sitting here. I'll get to this someday. Yard Pro is back over here. I got a different transaxle in it. Don't quite remember what videos I made and when they're being released, but it's automatic, or sorry, it's a manual transmission now. It wasn't automatic. The engine needs an ignition coil. I did have one, but it turned out to be no good as well. So it's sitting here waiting for its turn. Also, it needs a front spindle, but I'm probably going to swap over the entire front axle from the engine test stand, since I need to steal the spindle off of this for a different machine. I have two of these machines. They're both pretty much identical, but they're slightly different years, and they have slightly different deck mounts between the 2 years. This one here, the deck mounts to the actual frame. The other one, the deck actually mounts to the front axle. That's why I couldn't swap the axle into the other machine. But this is waiting its turn. This machine most likely will get put back together, since it is halfway decent. It's not the greatest, it's just halfway decent. Here is the other Yard Pro. This one here looks the same, but it's older, but everything's still mounted in the same except for the deck mount. I have a deck for this. This one will possibly get put back together. This is the one with the Vanguard. Really nice engine, not really nice machine. So I'm kind of pressed on keeping this engine in this machine, or finding something different and more junkier for this machine, but still runs and still get the job done. We'll see. Okay, this here is the deck off my auction Husqvarna. It's ready to go into storage. It's been painted. I've had to do some patching right here in this area. It was pretty rusted out right along here and right in here. Luckily, the mounts for the deck chute cover were still intact, so I just worked off of that, made a piece of metal to go over top, kind of destroyed my finger in the process, and got this back together, welded all in, painted, did a little bit of body work to it, smooth it out. It's pretty good now. I do need a new chute cover. I do have a 46-inch chute cover, which is the same, but it says 46-inch. So we'll see if I'll use that one or not. This is the garden area I've been working on. This is why I got the cheap rototiller. I'm kind of hard pressed on keeping that rototiller or keeping the one I'm getting in a couple days. I haven't yet fully decided, but this is the work that it did. It works really, really good. The engine's just not the greatest on it. It's hard to start, like I said. But for what I need it for, it gets the job done, and rototillers are worth a lot of money. So the one I'm getting, I'll probably end up reselling, and I'll just keep the little bit junkier one for myself. This here is a project I've been working on and off for a little while now. FTA satellite system. All these dishes were free. The one on the left is one of the ones I had first, and the one on the right as well. The one in the middle I just got recently. I had an 18-inch up there. I swapped it out with this big, I believe that's a 40-inch. I'm not 100% sure on that. It's not fully pointed to where it needs to be pointed to. The one on the left and the one on the right are pointed to where they were originally, since they're on the same axis as they were when they were taken down. They were just two houses over. I basically put them straight up on here. Primarily didn't want that big one to get damaged. The smaller ones, they're kind of a dime a dozen. I did have this Shaw dish up at one point. It'll probably go back up eventually and see what I can pick up off of that. And the 18, it's not really worth anything. It's not really worth even having around. You can't really get as much or too much at all through the 18-inch dishes, to the best of my knowledge. Honda HT3810 is probably going to be sitting here for the winter. The clutch is stuck in it. It's got a Kawasaki carburetor on it at the moment, but I'm probably going to try and get a couple Honda carburetors and see which one will potentially work the best. Basically 11 to 13 horsepower Honda carburetors. The Kawasaki one will work. It will run the engine, but the throttle blade is backwards. So backwards to the way it needs to be. I do still have the original carburetor. I've been trying to get it taken apart, but it's not going the nicest. Engine test stand, like I said, the front axle is probably going to come out of this, or I have a parts machine at my super secret storage location. I might take the parts off it as well before I scrap it. I'll show it in a later video. I might go out there and get some more videos there of some stuff, but nothing's really changed. Just a few of my ideas in my mind have changed on what's going on with the stuff out there. This here is my neighbor's snowblower. I had him do some work for us, and he dropped this off when he was getting the work done. Unfortunately, there was a giant mouse nest in the transmission. It's caused a lot of damage. It's pretty much seized solid. There's a tiny bit of movement there, but not much. I'll insert a picture right here. So yeah, that's how bad it was, and that's pretty much the picture I sent him as well. At this point, he's thinking about just going out and getting a brand new snowblower or a brand new snowblower. This one here, I don't know what he's going to want done with this. If he's just going to give it to me for my time and labor, from what I've had into it, or if he's going to take this one back. The tires on this are good. The engine should be good. The starter doesn't work, unfortunately, but the engine should still be good. Everything else is pretty rough. Here's the blade for the four-wheeler. It's pretty much ready to go. I've modified, or had the frame, or sorry, the base frame for it modified. It had to get widened in the back and shortened in the middle. I believe this is a UTV plow, and I'm making it work on a four-wheeler, which it should work. It's just making it work is the fun part. Okay, lastly, the Boelens. As you can see, it's in the garage. I don't know what videos I've got on this. I believe driving it home, and I believe I did release one other video of this. It does need some work. It needs bushing in the front wheel. Not a big deal. But the engine is to the point where it will run. I gotta get a belt for it. I'm going to do a video showing the drive setup on this and some of the issues that the drive setup does have with these. With the engine in the stock location, you can only run a 6-inch pulley. You can't go any bigger since the front axle is basically in the way. Also on these, to get the engine in and out, you have to drop the entire front axle to get at the engine bolts. Definitely a stupid setup. But this engine is all ready to go. I've added a voltage regulator. That's the one that was on the Vanguard engine that was in here. The Vanguard engine smoked really bad. It had over 15 or 1600 hours on it. So it was pretty tired. So that's actually what the holes are for on the dipstick tubes on these engines, to mount your voltage regulator. On this side here, I've remounted the fuel pump to this engine. Yes, you can put a fuel pump on these engines without modifying the dipstick tube or the valve cover. If you have the right dipstick tube, it will just hook straight up. It works a lot better than modifying. And the fuel pump bracket was already with this engine. These are kind of hard to find. I did look one up because I couldn't quite remember how this went back together. So I looked it up, and I couldn't even find one available for sale, let alone a picture of how it mounts. You'd think it would mount off that bolt, but no, it doesn't. There's a small cutout in the top cover that it slips through. The main bolt goes right through on the bottom, right through the inside of the cover. The top one just goes into the bracket, and it just hooks up normal way any fuel pump would hook up on these engines. So this little 11 horse has pull start, electric start, a fuel pump, and a voltage regulator. It never had a charging system from the factory. I've added the charging system. That exhaust will get changed out later on. I have one for it, more of a straight pipe, but with a muffler on it. Will definitely help out this machine a little bit better and keep the heat out from underneath the hood. The hood for it's outside. I'll be getting that put back on. I do have an indicator light to go on this corner right here. It'll be going, and the headlights work on this, but this will also be getting a light bar. Actually, I don't know if the headlights work yet. I gotta do some wiring repairs, but I will be putting an LED light bar on this. This will be an off-roading machine. It might be getting a gas pedal. I haven't yet decided, but that's pretty much it for this right here. So there's my end of October update. A little bit late, but better late than never. So I'll talk to them later. Please keep it redneck like always, and please subscribe and comment.